Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel every day leading up to Halloween. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1990's Basket Case 2, which was directed by Frank Henenlotter. I'm your co-host Alec, and joining me again to continue the Basket Case series is Corinne DeCost. Corinne, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here to talk about this one.
I know I have not watched Basket Case since, and it all came flooding back to me the second I turned this on. Because I like how they show the recap at the beginning, so you're like, "Oh yeah, I remember how that ended." Now they fall out of the building. That was helpful.
They do, and they also have to kind of start with that because we are backtracking on how the first one ended. They definitely died at the end of the first film.
Yeah.
And for Basket Case 2 and 3 to work, they have to not be dead. So we've saved them. I guess it's ambiguous enough that like you can kind of make it work. And
Yeah.
we do. They make it work. But I do think that they were definitely dead and we've broken canon already.
Yeah, but in a weird way, because a lot of horror movies just like completely ignore previous installments, and this one's like, okay, yeah, they died, but like they're back. So they try.
Absolutely. This is not the first in this genre to do something like
Yeah.
this, and anyone can survive a movie in this genre. But the lead actor does say he saw his character as damaged from this fall, and damaged is a great word for his character development in this movie.
Yeah, no, he definitely has a story arc, and this one really it was interesting because yeah, it takes place 8 years later, but it's supposed to be a direct like picks up right where it leaves off. But everybody, well, everybody, just Duane looks a lot older.
Yeah, 28 to 36. Just go with it.
Yeah, and they cut his hair so he looks a little bit more mature, I guess. But remind me, I'm sure you explained it on the last episode, but what is your like relationship with this series? Like, how did you get introduced to it again?
It was just a random movie on like a scratch off horror list of movies to watch. I wasn't familiar with it. Now that I've seen it, I feel like I bring it up to horror fans and they know exactly what I'm talking about, or they have no idea. But a
Mm.
lot of them do know what I'm talking about. Frank Henenlotter's kind of a big deal in the more niche indie horror. Like he did Frankenhooker at the exact same time he made Basket Case too.
I was gonna ask, have you seen that?
I haven't. I really do need to. I understand it's iconic, but I started with the Basket Case series, and I love the Basket Case series. It's just so silly and fun, and let's get into it.
Yeah, it stands apart. It's like you can't really compare this to anything that I can think of. And the first one was really awesome because, like Taxi Driver and all those other late 70s kind of movies, they really captured that New York feel very well. And this one, I liked how it's a sequel, but it's so different, where it's like we're going to Staten Island, it's more of a suburb, and we get to meet these, what do they call them? The what is it, misfits of unfortunate people or something?
Yeah, they're the freaks,
Yeah.
and I love the freaks. They're cartoonish and fun, and like they remind me of like Halloween Town or like Beetlejuice or like Spy Kids characters.
Yeah.
They're colorful and unique and like whimsical, and they feel friendly and misunderstood instead of just like creepy.
Hmm.
But they did go out of their way intentionally to avoid any like real life abnormalities. So it's not like ordinary human deformities,
Right.
because they didn't want to be like mean-spirited. And I really appreciate that,
Yeah.
because it really does make them all imaginative and like funky, and they have that like cartoonish whimsy about them.
No, absolutely. And they were all done like they're all so unique. And I like the frog guy. He was definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like and that's you can see like the budget went to that because this movie's budget is so much more than the first one. I can't remember what the first one has. I know it was like $10,000 or something like that.
I did look it up. So the first one was 35,000. This one
Okay.
was 1.5 million.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, that I mean all of the freaks, but we also have an actual animatronic for Belial instead of just
Mm,
like the stop motion effects and like the puppets and stuff.
hmm.
Like they got to go in on like a whole bunch of practical and like animatronic and all that. It's very obvious that Belial has some improvements in his first scene in this, that he's glowing and articulate. At one point he has that human face that's terrifying.
Yeah, I know. I want to talk about that. It's just so weird that like he always has the fake eyes, like it's clearly not a real thing. And then for one scene, they're like, let's just have him be a real guy. We'll paint over it or whatever, and it'll be the creepiest laugh that's ever happened.
So terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why they did that. Like, it's only for one little thing, too.
I would love to hear the like director's commentary on all of the choices.
Yeah. I mean, just the idea of it, like Frank Henenlotter, like because I mean, we talked about this on the first one, but like there was a passion project that they filmed over years and just like would get a little bit of money, film a little bit of it, and see where it goes. Imagine making that, and then 8 years later, so many people have enjoyed it that now you get 1.5 million, and it's like, okay, now do whatever you want.
Right.
That's the dream, basically.
I mean, yeah. He had a lot of time to also marinate on what he wanted to do in the sequel. Like
Mm,
he was against doing a sequel, but then, by 8 years later, he had come up with an idea. He was totally comfortable with it, and it had become enough of like a cult thing that people wanted it and would spend money on it.
right. And I mean, I feel that this is a worthy follow-up. Like I enjoyed this, maybe not as much as the first one, but like enough. And it didn't feel like it was super Hollywood or anything like that. But how do you like this one compared to the first one?
So I agree. It's the same like dark humor and bizarre horror and practical effects and stuff that makes the original lovable, but like it's different. It takes a very strong turn towards comedy, I think,
Hmm.
because the first one is funny and there's a lot of really memorable characters, but I think they realized that that was part of the charm of the first one and really went in on memorable characters and make it funny, and that will justify our scary portions.
It's like Evil Dead kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
And same thing kind of with like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the change in tone.
Right. I'm thinking also like the Chucky series,
Yep.
that very drastic change towards comedy between Child's Play and State of Chucky.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so this one, you're right though. Yeah, it definitely leans more into the comedy. And yeah, like I didn't feel afraid in this one at all. And I remember the scene where Belial, towards the end of the first one, he gets like sexual with that woman. Like that scene was intense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also like we're kind of treating Duane like he's crazy for resenting his brother, but like he sexually assaulted and murdered his girlfriend. Like I'd be
Yeah.
pretty mad about that. I think that's reasonable.
So you were saying in the beginning, like you think that I mean, the actor said this, but do you also agree, like the Duane when he falls, he does become less, I don't know, like naive and like he doesn't seem like that lost deer boy anymore. Like he does seem
Right.
like something's happened.
Something has broken with him between movie one and movie two. And maybe it was more of the dead girlfriend who's been assaulted by his brother, but there's a lot of hate and anger in his character, even from the start of this film.
Mm. Yeah, no, he's definitely, yeah, he just seems hardened, like just right from the top. And yeah, I mean, because like the thing is about this movie that it makes it kind of interesting is like the events of the first one are what make this film happen, but it also happens for two different reasons. Because we get, I know they call her Miss Freak or whatever, or Madam or Dr. Freak, but what was her real name? The aunt.
Are you talking about Granny Ruth?
Oh, Granny Ruth. Yeah, Granny
Yeah.
Ruth.
Okay.
So Granny Ruth, she finds them and she's like, I knew your aunt or whatever. Like, I want to help you. So she goes after they escape the hospital. But then you also have the reporters that like want to do a story about it. So there's like two cool angles on top of Duane having to like deal with finding a new girlfriend and dealing with Belial. And Belial's also getting a girlfriend. So there's a lot of moving parts happening. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean these men are grown and have their romantic pursuits. Because up until this point, Belial has been a secret from the world. Now the world knows that there is a Belial,
Yeah.
and that is big news. And I'm glad that a Granny Ruth appeared to bring them under her care. But like those sleazy reporters are fun.
Oh yeah.
They're just like grimy caricatures and are ready to exploit that story.
I know they really don't have anything redeemable about them. Like they don't learn anything at the end. You know, they're not, I mean, they get killed and the other one turns into a freak herself, but yeah, they're pieces of shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. They're fun, but they're like, because they're the bad guys, I guess. I mean,
Right.
yeah,
You start really identifying with the freaks. In the first film, a character kind of like Jaws, where you don't see him until halfway into the movie. Like he is the suspense of the first film. And
right.
now we get to really see who he is. And he's had a terrible life. Like his father tried to kill him and left him for dead, and he isn't able to live out on his own and like go on his romantic pursuit and do anything on his own. You start really feeling for this flop guy.
Yeah. No, you really do. I mean, yeah, because everything he's doing is a reaction to his life. It's not like he was just like born evil and is going and killing people. He's like an animal almost. Like he's reacting to a situation.
Yeah.
Granted, the sexual assault, yeah, aside, but
Right. And yeah, I'm not going to make any excuses for that. But,
yeah.
I think that they're complicated characters and their supernatural connection makes it a very unique relationship that they're trying to deal with in this movie.
It's so much better than it needs to be. Like that's the thing. Like there's just like I don't know. Like it's such a small, low budget idea, but there are things that make it very unique. And
Yeah.
I just feel like they always are taking swings, and for me, most of the time, it works. But yeah, I totally agree earlier what you're saying about the freaks being like sympathetic and you're on their side, and having Granny Ruth, she like genuinely seems like a good person. Like I feel like if this movie came out today, it would be like she's actually like working for this like scientist or the government and she's selling the
Right.
freaks to them. But this one's like, no, you are my children. And like my favorite line I think in the whole movie is when she says to Belial, like, ripping off people's faces might not be in your best interest. Like,
I literally had that exact line to bring up because it's one of my favorite lines in cinema. That's so good.
yeah, no, it's incredible and it's genuine because like she does care about both of them, Duane too. It's not like she even looks at Duane like you're fine, you can leave. Like no. And who's her niece? Is it Susan?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that little thing too. Like Duane sees Susan is like, why are you here? Like this is weird. Like we're both normal. Like what's going on? And then we find out later she's got her own little thing going on. Like,
Oh, I love that reveal that she's a freak too. Yeah, that the idea is that none of us are actually normal. We're all weird. It's just some of us are more obviously weird than other ones.
yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean even that scene when the private detective goes to like talk to Duane about getting Belial and he's like, "You think we fit in here or whatever?" Like and he's like, "Yeah, we're normal people." And it's like, "Oh, they're all the freaks. Like you're not normal." Like so
Yeah.
it's great. It really is. And I think I haven't seen the old film from the 30s, but I think this is a pretty big nod to it, right?
Oh, the freaks. I think that was like, yeah, like 1932 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of referring back to that. And Granny Ruth is also she's got quite the Wikipedia page. Annie Ross, she was like a former child actress and had roots in vaudeville and jazz and like theater credits. And she was like a jazz master by the National Endowment for the Arts.
Yeah. I'm looking her up. She lived till 2020. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And she did like a bunch of vocal dubs for like Wicker Man and Superman 2.
Oh.
And okay, so on her Wikipedia page, I saw she had a heroin addiction that she overcame in the 1950s, had an affair with comedian Lenny Bruce, and then like lived to be 90.
Yeah, if you live to be 90, I mean, you have to at least have one addiction and get rid of it, you know? And Lenny
Yeah,
Bruce, yeah, you always sleep with at least one famous comedian, you know?
she lived a great life and she did a whole bunch of things, and this is one of them.
Yeah, well, I love that. Yeah, she had such a prolific career, and then they're like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" Like, I wonder if her agents were like, "Hey, Basket Case?" She's like, "What?" It's like, Basket Case. She's like, "I have no idea what that is." Like, want to be the sequel? She's like, "Okay."
It's like a grandmother role. Yeah, sure, I can do that.
She nails it though. Like that speech that she gives is like, "The war is at our door again." Like, all
Oh my
like,
God. Yeah, what a legend. She's able to rile you up. And I guess the director didn't give her that much direction. She just kind of went for it and nailed it. She's so great in this, and she's great in the next one too. But
Oh, good. Yeah, because I mean, she doesn't die, and
yeah.
we'll get to the ending. But yeah, great. Okay, good. I'm glad she comes back because yeah, she's clearly the best actress in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fantastic.
And just before I forget, I actually have a odd kinship with this film that I never knew.
Oh.
This movie came out on my actual birthday, like the year and the day I was born, which is
Oh, that's wild.
March 2nd, 1990s. Like, I hope my parents saw it after they brought me home.
That's something special.
I know, yeah, I was pretty excited when I saw that. Yeah, so okay, so it starts off, yeah, they get to the house on Staten Island, which is a nice change from the New York City aesthetic. I love the New York City aesthetic, but if it was the same thing again, it would might be a little tired. So this was nice they changed it up.
Yeah. Plus, I don't think they'd have the same vibe in New York 8 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know late or yeah, I guess late into early 80s, 70s into 80s versus
Yeah.
90. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so there's this one scene with the it's like an actual carnival freak show, and there's a guy I can't remember. Like I know they set up an interview. The scummy reporters like I want to go see this guy. I can't remember. Do they think that he has Belial or what? What's the deal there? I can't remember.
I think they were just trying to get information.
Right. But then the granny, she knows about it too. So then she goes with Belial and they kill the other guy, the other freak show guy.
Yeah. Granny has kind of a dark streak to her. She'll do anything to protect her weirdos and keep them safe in their little community.
Yeah. I know. And yeah, so once they get back to the freak house or whatever, though, Belial's introduced to another like female version of him, Eve.
Yeah, the eyeball girl,
Yeah.
Eve.
Yeah. So like and even Granny Ross is like, she hasn't really, talked to anybody, but I think you might be able to change that. I'm so conditioned to believe she's gonna be a piece of shit. So but I'm like, fuck, I love her.
No, I don't. I think she just is somebody who, because she had something happen to her son, and now she's taking care of her niece, who is also a freak, and she's just very personally connected to freaks that
Mm.
she cares a lot about them genuinely, which is lovely for them.
I love that. And I love that so much that there's so much depth to her character.
Yeah.
Also, I completely thought that Susan was Lori Loughlin for like the first 5 minutes I saw her.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I could see that.
I was like, man, she did this like during Full House. I was like, huh.
That would be a different kind of role for her for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so then let's see, they get back to the house. Susan and Duane are hitting it off. Duane tells Belial in that freaky scene we were talking about earlier that he's like, I want to like leave. Like I want to have a real normal life with Susan, everything like that. And then Belial just like, yeah, laughs in his face.
Yeah, but that's so odd and creepy, and I love it, but it's so unsettling.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I mean, it's a weird choice to have it be a real face for that one scene, but I wonder if it is kind of just like they needed something so expressive for that scene. But it's just Belial, what, basically mocking Dwayne's dreams? Is that kind of like the undertone of it?
I think because Belial is his twin, he sees him as, what do you mean you think you're better than us? You're one of us. You're
Right,
literally part of me. We're connected forever. You can't just walk away from this.
right. Yeah. God, it's so weird because like you'd want Belial to be happy for him, but at the same point you're just like, but you shouldn't leave Belial either. It's such a hard thing to grapple with for these characters.
Yeah, I do think Belial would probably be just fine left alone there,
Yeah.
and that they could have split, but Dwayne's not going about it in the right way, and he's kind of going crazy and making up stuff in his own head over there.
Yeah, no, you're right. So then we kind of get like towards the climax of the film, we get the reporter and her like scummy little other reporter guy, they go to the house or whatever, and the guy sneaks in first and he gets killed by all the freaks. And I
Yeah,
love that scene where all of the lights like individually go off like one by one throughout the building. I thought that was really cool.
yeah, that was fun. I like when they're removing their masks and like some of them do not even fit their heads at all. Like they could not have hidden behind that thing.
I know, I love that. But like honestly, I when I was watching the movie when they go into the bar scene, I didn't notice that they were freaks at first
Yeah.
until they take off their masks. So they did an all right job. But I love that scene. Yeah, when the private detective gets killed. But the other guy, I can't remember how does he get killed? The reporter guy.
Oh my goodness, it's been a second. I feel like it was really quick in there because it really then focuses on Marcy's death and how they like mangle her face.
Yeah, that, oh my God. I mean, I don't think she's gonna survive very long after having like her head split in half, basically. But
Right. It really is like her head was made of silly putty or something.
yeah, they're like, what did they say? They didn't say you're one of us, but it was kind of like along the lines of that. Because that's the only thing I know about freaks is the gooble gobble one of us.
Right. Yeah, and I think they're saying that like her personality is just so ugly. Like you are a freak already. Like you're exploiting us, and if you exploit us, it's justified that you should have to live as one of us.
Oh, I love that. Fuck, I mean, don't ruin it because I want to see the third one, but I kind of hope she survives. And there's a scene where she's getting interviewed about being a freak by a news person. I want that. But we'll see if that happens in the third one. Yeah, so then at the end, they're all kind of celebrating, because they won and they're having their little dinner or whatever. And Duane goes upstairs and then Susan follows after him and he confesses his love for her. They start going at it, and then she's like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, what? It's like, yeah, I've been pregnant for 6 years. And he's like, oh, okay. And then, yeah, when they open her stomach, she has like the Beetlejuice worm inside of her, basically.
Yeah, it like reminds me of like the alien from Aliens, kind of.
Yeah. But like, I mean, again, like, how does she not die every time that rips her apart?
It's insane.
Yeah.
Of this reveal that she's a freak too, that it just wasn't something that was obvious to Duane. And like, yeah, everyone around you is kind of a freak. It's all of us. Like you're one of us. Not anybody here is normal. And Duane spent his entire adult life denying his love for his freak brother, and he managed to fall in love with a freak.
Hmm. Damn, you're analyzing this on a couple of levels that I'm missing. So that is true. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey man, you are what you are. You love who you love. Get with the program.
Yeah. So this is also kind of like simultaneously happening with Belial's sex scene,
God.
which
Yeah.
is a lot. And I feel like there's no way to prepare anyone for it.
It's like the Team America sex scene if like it was two chewed up pieces of gum having sex.
That's a great description of it. Yeah, that's the perfect description.
But the music was like kind of nice, right? It was like romantic, like cheesy.
It's kind of beautiful. I'm kind of happy for Belial. I don't think he's a good guy after the first movie, but I think he could be better. And
Yeah.
this is nice for him.
Yeah, so Eve and Belial are, they have sex, and I believe she gets pregnant because I think that's what the third one's kind of about, right? Is their kid?
Well, I don't want to
All
get too
right.
into it, but in the third film, Belial has babies,
Whoa.
plural. Yeah, it's a Basket Case 3, The Progeny, is not something that the director is super proud of. Like he said that he is disappointed in it and blames himself for agreeing to make one immediately after Basket Case 2 without a proper story idea, but I don't care. I love it anyway.
Oh, okay. I mean, hey, I'm excited. Yeah, I did see it came out in 91, and I was like, whoa, that was a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
Because there's no box office for this, so I don't know how it did.
right. And I do think there is a story there, and I think they wrap it up really well. I think the director is too hard on himself about it. It's still silly, and it has the feeling of the second one for sure, but I think it's a wrap up of everything.
Well, this one ends on such a cliffhanger. This is like the Empire Strikes Back ending. It's just like, oh man, what's gonna happen?
Oh, what an ending.
Yeah, because we didn't even say like Susan, he kills her by accident. Duane kills her. He knocks her out the
Yeah.
window and she falls into the party, and then they're like, let's go fucking kill this guy.
And Belial killed Sharon in the first one. Now Duane's killed Susan. So Belial is not more of a freak than his brother anymore, just the fact that he's ugly.
No, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, they're paralleling each other, and I think maybe that's why the very end he attaches Belial back to him. He sews him back onto his body, and maybe it's like full circle. It's like you killed one, I killed one.
Yeah, what an ending in the journey. He's gone so crazy that like he thinks this is the better way to live. Back before everything had happened, back together again. And of course, Belial does not seem very happy about this. He's found love and he wants to be independent of his brother, which is a good thing for him. He seemed jealous of anybody talking to his brother in the first movie. So he's made some character development as a blob and wants to be independent of his brother. Now his brother has come back and there's a power struggle there between the two of them.
Again, like this is too good for what it is. If you say like, yeah, it's a movie about like a Siamese twin that like the one lives in a basket and they go to New York City, but then like they're like, okay, but then you explain the depth and the growth and yeah, just like their adventure. I mean, it's like a Pokemon adventure. Like they go off on their own into the big city and then they get wrapped up in all these different, situations, but they're all very interesting and unique. So it's yeah, great series, Corinne. Very good recommendation too.
Thank you. I thought that you would probably enjoy this one. There's just so much to it, so much to discuss, and so much fun in it.
Yeah, and I can't remember the exact line that he says, but Duane has definitely lost it at this point, and he's sewed his brother back onto his body. But what does he keep saying? Like together again or something, or like
Yeah, and that is so unsettling that he would want that. But yeah, he's broken.
and yeah, and then all the freaks walk in with Granny Ruth and they see it and yeah, just like the camera just kind of like fades away and you're like, fuck, good cliffhanger. Because the last one ends so seemingly definitively with them dying, but this one's just like, nah, there's definitely more that's gonna happen.
Yeah, more definitely happens. And the first film we're introduced to the pair. The second film, Lyle falls in love, and I would love to come back to discuss the ending where Belial has his babies.
Yes, 100% we're gonna finish out this series and who knows, there might even be a fourth one someday. Maybe.
That would be fantastic. I would love to see it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know the first one got like into the Library of Congress or something. There's like a 4K release. It's all people love the first one.
Yeah, it was served by the Museum of Modern Arts.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's crazy how it really has become like a cult classic and something that is loved for what it is.
Yeah. No, it's definitely worth checking out if I'm assuming you're not listening to this if you haven't seen the first one in this one, but yeah, definitely check these out if you haven't seen them. And yeah, Corinne, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on and talking through this with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you tomorrow with something, but we'll definitely be back in the near future to finish out the Basket Case trilogy with Corinne. So, see you all soon.